So this is going to be a interesting conversation. Over the course of the last 5 months, I would say, I've had this conversation 2 or 3 times. It's not really a topic that I ever thought we would explore on the internet, to be perfectly honest with you. Abusive relationships. And how to avoid them and how to properly exit from that situation. I think the best way to start this video off is with a little bit of story time. Many years ago, a colleague of mine had called me up and asked me to go with him on a listing interview. I was rather surprised by this because this particular colleague is numerous years in the industry, has a very successful running business. All of his customers love him. All of the agents in his sphere of influence love him. So, I found this to be perplexing, but I was curious, so I went. The challenge here was, and the notion is that for whatever reason, he was having difficulty communicating with this particular customer, and he felt that a different perspective and a different approach, a different style, so to speak, might benefit the situation. And so I went. Upon arriving, I quickly discovered what the issue was. It was a couple. We were in a patio villa, a colony floor plan, and the wife was behind the counter, and the gentleman was in front of the counter, resting on the long bar there. He had a bad experience somewhere down the line with a real estate agent. That happens, unfortunately. And he essentially was assuming and presuming the worst. And he essentially was suggesting strongly that our motives were not honorable and that we were going to be using tactics and methods that did not serve his interests. Essentially, he was throwing out a lot of accusations. And I let this go on for a good 4 or 5 minutes, and I can tell that my colleague was a bit taken back, as anyone would be in that situation. And I decided at that moment that I was gonna address this. Okay? And essentially the way that I had addressed it was, sir, I'm real sorry to hear that you had a bad experience. It's clear that the last time you interacted with an agent, things did not go as they probably should have. With that being said, it is not fair to assume and put forth accusations that my colleague or myself are going to behave in a similar manner. If you don't allow yourself to have a positive experience, you will simply have the negative one. Okay? And thus you're really taking away an opportunity here to see it from the other side. Moreover, we cannot and should not subjugate ourselves to these assumptions and these accusations. We didn't do those things. We have no intention of doing those things. Our job is to help you achieve your goal of getting this home sold. So if we can't get past this moment and these feelings that you're having, I think it would be best if we did not move forward with this endeavor together. Quite frankly, and this is true of all scenarios, but one of the first times I had said it out loud here, quite frankly, there's a very real possibility that the contentiousness of this endeavor would start to draw too heavily upon our time and energies, which is going to take away from other folks' servicing and time. And that's not fair, and I can't allow that to be the case. So, as soon as, to kind of wrap this story up, as soon as that conversation happened, the wife kind of came out from behind, because he was rearing up. He was getting ready to let me have it verbally. The wife came out from behind the counter and basically, reminded him that more or less they could benefit greatly from our input and our help. And thus deaden that behavior that he was putting forth. I see these type of situations come up when the market is in a transitioning state, when norms are being challenged and change is on the horizon. Change is always scary. Everybody tends to react differently under these circumstances. And, quite frankly, selling a home can be a stressful, challenging time, right? Having the right agent matters. Oh, I'm going to get a little Florida sunshine out here. If you can hear the thunder in the background. So as from a customer perspective, and the reason that I'm doing this video today, please remember that not every agent is the same. The part I left out of that story is that, well, the whole industry is corrupt and crooked. And I think I cracked a joke at some point saying, geez, he thinks we're lawyers. I don't have anything against lawyers. I think lawyers are wonderful. Trust me, when you need them, they're good to have around. But it was just something to ease the tension and, tamp things down a little bit. I got 3 different phone calls from 3 different agents over the last 5 months with similar stories to the one I just told. Generally, I encourage them to try and understand where this frustration and outward aggression is coming from and address that, right? As opposed to trying to put out fires. Let's get right to what the real motives are and what the real concerns are, and get those underlying issues resolved, if we can, if the customer is willing to go there. Failing which, and if this pattern of behavior continues, it is perfectly reasonable and doable to excuse yourself from that situation professionally. When I was getting dressed this morning, I took a look at my chest and it didn't say Everlast on there. We're not punching bags. We are there to help and provide information and provide services and provide marketing. I don't get paid, a therapist rate. We take care of our folks the best we can, when we can, within the scope of our profession. But it's not anyone's job to be the focal point for someone else's frustrations, particularly over a extended period of time. So abusive relationships, do your best not to be in those. Recognize the signs early. There are agents out there who can take advantage of things. I'm not disparaging anybody here. I think this is pretty well known. So it can go both ways. Really, the point of this video is just to say, recognize it, and then when it makes sense, maybe the best thing to do is excuse yourself from that circumstance. Hey, tough one. This is a tough topic to crack because you're never really sure how you want to talk about it. It's based on individual circumstances. But I'm glad we did. Let's be conscious of it. Let's try and remember to work together respectfully and towards mutual goals. Take care of yourself. Take care of your others. And have a great one. Thanks so much for tuning in.